All right, welcome to your deep dive. Ready to unlock some secrets?
Let's do it.
We're taking on Shadowgate, the Living Castle, a board game that's giving me some serious nostalgic vibes, especially for anyone who remembers that classic video game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You've given us a ton of cool stuff to work with. Excerpts about the game, the rule book, pictures of the game box, even character cards. I'm feeling ready.
Me too.
So think of us as your guides as we explore everything Shadowgate, from its origins to how to actually play it, maybe even some trivia to impress your friends with at your next game night.
Sounds good to me.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll be ready to step into the castle and face whatever lurks inside. Sound good?
Let's do it. I'm excited about this one.
Me too. What's really fascinating to me is that this isn't just some cheap rehash of the video game,
Right.
It feels like they really captured the atmosphere of those original Shadowgate adventures.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that makes this game so special. It's not just using the name, it's really trying to capture the feel.
Okay, so how does the board game connect to the actual Shadowgate story? Like, where does it fit in?
Well, it's actually set within the storyline of that 2014 Shadowgate video game revival.
Oh, cool.
So you're stepping into an established world. It's not just like a standalone thing. There's a rich history here.
So for players who are really into the lore and the story, there's more to dig into.
Absolutely.
That's pretty neat. Okay, let's get down to the basics. What's the goal here? What are we actually trying to do in the game?
You're trying to become the High Lord of Westland.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, right.
How do we get there?
So it's basically a competition for experience points, or XP.
Oh.
And the way you gain XP is by completing quests, overcoming challenges, maybe taking some risks along the way.
So it's not just about racing to the finish line. There's some strategy involved.
Absolutely there is.
Now, I noticed the game is divided into levels. We've got the caverns, the keep, and towers and mines. Do those levels get harder as you go?
They do, yeah. You start in the caverns and then you work your way up through the keep to finally reach those towers and mines.
And at each level.
Each level has, like, more challenging quests and potentially greater rewards.
But there's a catch, right? There's this Great Barrier event card that I keep seeing mentioned in the rulebook. What's that all about?
Yeah, so the Great Barrier is a huge element of the game, and it basically stops players from reaching the final quest, which is like the ultimate showdown until a very specific thing happens.
Oh, wait.
You actually have to find all 3 pieces of the Staff of Ages before you can even try to break through that barrier.
Ah, the Staff of Ages. So we've got pieces of this staff scattered all throughout the castle. We're on a scavenger hunt.
You are, yeah. And each piece of that staff isn't just a token, it's an actual powerful relic card. And they give you a significant amount of XP, which is awesome.
So you want to find those.
You do. They're highly sought after, let me tell you.
Okay, so before we dive into the quests, I'm curious about the characters. We have 9 playable characters in this game. Each one has its own unique ability. What makes them stand out from each other? What should players look for when they're choosing who to play?
Yeah, every character really brings a different flavor to the game, a different play style.
Okay.
For example, Jer Kuthagar, the warrior, he starts with an extra item.
Okay.
And that might not seem like a big deal, but having that extra item card, especially early in the game, can really give you a leg up in completing quests.
Especially if it's a good item.
Exactly.
You get lucky right off the bat. What about some other characters? Who else stands out to you?
Well, there's Feslin Quickfoot. He's the thief. And he can, like, cycle through item cards more quickly than the other characters.
Oh, interesting.
Which is, like, huge in terms of being adaptable to different situations.
Yeah.
He's all about finding the right tool for the job.
He's resourceful.
Super resourceful. And then there's Lakmir the Timeless. He's a wizard.
Wizards are cool.
Oh, he's awesome. He has this crazy ability to swap his physical and mental traits, but to do that, he has to discard magic items, which can be, like, really strategically valuable.
It's all about that strategy.
It is.
It sounds like choosing a character is about more than just, who looks cool.
Oh, for sure.
There's some real strategy behind it.
Yeah, considering how their abilities are going to play out, absolutely.
And each character also has a fully equipped bonus ability.
They do, yeah. Once you fill all the equipment slots on your character mat, you get that bonus. So it really encourages you to think about how you manage your equipment, what items you go for.
Okay, so we're being rewarded for paying attention to the details. Now, I see there's a beginner mode. Is that for people who are just getting into board games?
Yeah, beginner mode is great for new players, or even if you're experienced and just want something a little less, like, specialized. Certain character mats are marked with a yellow star, and those characters have more balanced traits, making them good for learning the ropes.
That's a nice touch. So let's talk more about this Staff of Ages. We know it's important, it's broken up, those pieces are powerful relic cards. But, like, what do we do with it? What makes it so special?
Okay, so besides the obvious 25 XP you get for each piece, there's something even better.
Okay.
When you wield the full staff during the final quest, that's when it really shines. You get to roll a bonus blue die, and you can add up to +2 to your attack or defense rolls.
Oh, wow. That could be huge in a final battle.
Oh, it's a game changer for sure. Suddenly, finding those pieces seems even more important, huh?
Yeah, it definitely adds a layer of urgency to that scavenger hunt. Now, the staff isn't the only thing we're going to encounter in this game. What other challenges are we going to face in our quest to become the High Lord?
Oh, there's plenty more, let me tell you. Oh, you're going to face all sorts of things. We've got 4 different types of quest cards in this game. Standard, monster, puzzle, and event.
4 different types, huh? That sounds pretty diverse. That's like choose your own adventure almost. I like that.
Yeah, it is. And each one is going to give you, like, a different challenge and different rewards.
Okay.
So standard quests, those are the most common. They typically involve tests of skill or cunning. And you're going to get rewarded with, like, item cards or maybe elemental tokens, things that can boost your character's traits.
Okay, so you're constantly building up your character strengths as you go.
Exactly, throughout the game. And then you've got monster quests. Those are a little trickier.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right. They often require you to have specific skills or items to actually defeat the monster.
Okay.
But the rewards can be pretty sweet. You'll often get what are called puzzle items from defeating monsters, and those are key for completing the puzzle quests.
Oh, puzzle quests. I love a good puzzle. How do those work? Do you need specific items to solve them?
You do. You need those puzzle items that you got from those monster encounters. But here's the strategic part. You keep those puzzle items secret.
Ooh, sneaky.
Yeah. No one else knows what you've got until you decide to reveal it.
So it's not just about being smart enough to solve the puzzle. It's also about knowing when to reveal you have what you need.
That's cool.
Exactly. You might want to hold on to a crucial item and then, like, swoop in at the last minute and claim that reward.
Outsmart everyone.
Yes.
I can already see how this game could lead to some fun arguments, people getting competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in the background of all this questing and puzzle solving, we've got this torch that seems like a pretty big deal. It feels like a ticking time bomb.
It is. The torch is such a cool mechanic. It really, like, represents that danger that's always present in Shadowgate, right?
Right.
And each round, the torch decreases.
Uh-oh.
And if you fail certain torch quests, it's going to burn out even faster.
Yeah.
So it creates this sense of urgency. You got to manage your time well.
And there are red numbers on the torch track, too. Those look ominous. What happens when the torch hits one of those?
That's when things get a little dicey. Someone's going to roll that special red die, and whatever it lands on determines like a trait penalty that affects all players. Oh, so it's a shared consequence.
It is, yeah. So even though you're competing against each other, you kind of have to work together to keep that torch from burning out.
I like that. It brings people together.
It does. It creates a fun dynamic.
Now, what happens if the torch actually goes out? Is it game over?
Not quite. Everyone gets a death card, which, you know, hurts your score in the end.
Yeah.
But then the torch resets and the game continues. It's like a classic Shadowgate idea. You know, death doesn't stop you. It just slows you down.
That's very true. Now, those death cards sound pretty bad.
Yeah.
How many can you get before it really impacts your chances of winning?
Well, each death card is a 5-point penalty at the end.
Oof.
Yeah. They add up, but sometimes the rewards are worth the risk. It's a balancing act. Do you play it safe or do you go for it?
Risk versus reward.
Yeah.
I like it. Now, what about those gin riddles? Are they optional?
They are optional, but they offer, like, these bonus rewards.
So tempting.
Yeah. And advantages. So throughout the game, you'll encounter these gin riddles, and if you want to try to answer one, you have to discard a specific card.
Okay. So it seems like you really have to manage your items carefully.
Absolutely. Knowing what to keep, what to discard, it's key.
What are some examples of these riddles? What kind of cool rewards are we talking about?
Okay, here's one. I am higher than the king. What am I?
Higher than the king.
To answer that one, you'd have to discard the king's crown card. And the reward is that you get to choose an item from another player or even a staff piece.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, right. It gets really interesting.
So let's imagine we've been doing all this questing, solving puzzles, maybe outsmarting a djinn or two along the way. We found all the staff pieces. The torch is still going strong. What happens next? Is it time for that final showdown?
It is. You've made it to the heart of Shadowgate, and now it's time to face your fate in the final quest.
Okay.
But here's the twist. You don't know which boss you're going to face until that final quest card is revealed.
Wait, it's random.
It is.
You could get a different boss every time you play.
Exactly. It could be the Behemoth, the Reaper, or the Warlock Lord.
Okay, so who are these guys?
Each boss has its own, attack style and difficulty level.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so you're going to have to be ready to adapt. This is where those staff pieces come in really handy. Remember that bonus blue die?
Oh, yeah. That +2 could be crucial.
It could save your life.
Okay, so how does this final showdown actually work? Is it a free-for-all?
So players are going to take turns attacking the boss, and the torch token actually represents the boss's life points.
Oh, interesting.
It starts at 50, and the first player to get it down to 0, that's the winner. They get that 50 XP final quest card.
50 points, that's huge.
It is.
But I bet those bosses don't go down easily. What can you tell us about their different attack styles?
Oh, they all have their own tricks. The Warlock Lord, he's all about those mental attacks.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he uses that powerful mental trait to just, overwhelm you.
And then there's the Reaper?
Yeah, the Reaper is scary. He makes everyone roll the dice, and you gotta hope you don't get double skulls, because that means a double dose of those nasty death cards.
Double death cards.
Yeah, no one wants that.
No, thank you. Now, the Behemoth sounds like a real powerhouse. What's his deal?
Oh, the Behemoth is all about unpredictable attacks. He's actually gonna, dictate which of your traits you have to use to defend by rolling that red die we talked about earlier.
Oh, that's no good.
And to make it worse, he gets to re-roll any skulls he rolls.
So it's like a gamble every time.
Exactly. You never know what's gonna hit you.
We also haven't talked about those energy cards yet. What do they do?
Oh, the energy cards. Those are like curveballs thrown right into the mix. So they're revealed at the start of the final quest, and they add, these hindering effects to the battle.
Oh, like what kind of chaos are we talking about here?
Oh, there's all sorts of fun ones. There's fear, which forces you to attack with your lowest base trait. Doesn't matter how strong you are, you're stuck with your weakest link.
That's rough.
Yeah. And then there's hatred. That one's brutal. If you roll double 2s during your attack, you actually add your attack score to the boss's life total.
So you're actually helping the boss.
Yeah, it's a major setback.
There has to be some benefit to defeating these cards, though, right?
Right. If you manage to get that boss's life down to one of those red numbers, you defeat the energy card and get 20 XP.
Okay.
But here's the catch. A new one immediately replaces it. They just keep coming.
So you're always fighting against those.
Yeah, they keep you on your toes for sure.
So we've talked about gaining experience points, but how does the final scoring actually work? Who wins?
All right, so once the boss is defeated, you add up all your XP from completed quests, plus anything from items in your completed quest space and any staff pieces you've got.
But we can't forget those death cards.
Oh, absolutely. Those come back to haunt you. You subtract 5 XP for every single death card.
It all adds up.
It does. So you have to think long term. Don't just rush into things. Got to balance that risk and reward.
So it's not just about how fast you can defeat the boss.
Nope.
It's about the choices you make all along the way.
Exactly. Skill, strategy, and a little luck, that's what it takes to be High Lord.
Now there's a competition mode mentioned in the rules. What makes that different?
Competition mode, that's where things get really serious. Instead of just losing points, if you get 5 death cards, you're out.
Wow, that's intense.
It is.
Yeah.
Suddenly, every choice is even more important.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the quests, the torch, those djinn riddles, the epic boss battle. What else makes Shadowgate, the Living Castle, unique? What are those hidden gems that might surprise people?
I think one of the coolest things is how much attention they paid to detail, especially with the world building.
Okay, yeah.
They actually included this really rich backstory in the rulebook. You can dig into the history of Shadowgate, the rise of the Warlock Lord, how it all led up to this quest you're going on.
I do love a good backstory.
Oh, yeah, me too.
It makes it feel like you're part of something much bigger than just the game itself.
Oh, exactly, like a whole world.
And they didn't just make all this up themselves, did they?
Nope. They worked with Dave Marsh and Carl Roloffs, the original creators of the video game.
No way. So this has the seal of approval, like straight from the source.
It does. They were really involved, which is also to see.
That's so cool. It really shows a lot of respect for the original. Speaking of bringing the game to life, Music seems to be a big part of the Shadowgate experience. Like, it's encouraged to have the soundtrack going.
Oh, absolutely. The 2014 Shadowgate video game has this phenomenal soundtrack. It was composed by Richard Douglas, and it's full of this atmospheric, dark fantasy music. It just fits perfectly.
So we should be dimming the lights, putting on those spooky tunes, really setting the mood for game night.
You got it. Make it an experience. And here's something even cooler. Richard Douglas actually wrote a special track just for the board game.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, it's called Beyond the Gate, and it's this beautiful, haunting piece that's just perfect for those, like, tense moments while you're playing.
That's amazing. It just shows how much thought they put into this whole thing.
They did.
So we've covered a lot. We've talked about where it came from, the strategy involved, all that risk and reward, the immersive atmosphere. What's the big takeaway here? Why should someone play Shadowgate, the Living Castle?
Because it's more than just a game,
Yeah.
It's an experience. You're stepping into this world of adventure and mystery, and you're making tough choices, facing scary enemies, and you're making your own story in the world of Shadowgate.
That's awesome. So as we finish up this deep dive, I have one final question for our listener.
Oh, let's hear it.
What kind of adventurer would you be in this world? Which character calls to you?
Yeah, who would you be?
Would you be the brave warrior, the clever thief, the wise wizard, or maybe a rogue who can handle anything?
The castle awaits. It's full of secrets and challenges. What path will you choose?
That's a great question to leave everyone with. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Of course. Always fun to talk Shadowgate.